Hello from Vegas, and welcome to the Daily Download with Digitas at CES. We're bringing you all the hottest insights and everything from the show floor right to you so you can stay up with the latest trends, everything we're seeing. And we are here today with a couple incredible guests that I'm super excited to introduce, starting off with Alex Dao. He's here with us. He's the VP of Advertising at EA Sports. Welcome, Alex. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. We have Jim Squires, who's here as our EVP of Marketing and Growth at Reddit. Welcome.
Hi, Morgan. Thank you for having us.
And Amy, our fearless leader and CEO at Digitas, our favorite unicorn. So happy to have you.
Thank you for having me. Thrilled to be here. How lucky to be at CES once again.
Back again. Feels
Back
like
again.
we were just here.
Yes.
So today we're going to be talking about how we're seeing communities and fandoms starting to change. And we have the perfect people in the room for this topic. But I thought I'd start things off a little bit more macro level from a CES perspective. Jim and Alex, if you've had a chance to even see the show, if you haven't, you can just talk to me about the things that you've seen. I know things get crazy. What are some of the hottest things that you've spotted or heard about at CES so far? And maybe, Alex, we can start with you.
Yeah, so I haven't made it to the floor, and I never make it to the floor. But in the conversations that I'm hearing, sports is unscaped. Like, you can't escape the conversation around sports right now. 2026 is all about sports. Over the next month, we're going to have the Winter Olympics, the College National Championships, the Super Bowl. And then during the summer, the World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time in nearly 30 years. And so what we're really predicting is like soccer fandom is going to be at a peak all-time high in North America. And this time, I think it's actually going to stick. And so super excited about that. Sports is just such a huge opportunity for marketers. There's 4 billion sports fans in the world. When you take a look at the next generation, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, there's 1 billion of them that are out there. And so that audience really is starting to build their allegiances and loyalties to teams, to players as we speak. At EA, we have some of the biggest titles. We got FC, Madden, college football, F1, skate, NHL. And what we see is a lot of times fandom no longer starts with a ticket to a game. It actually starts with a controller. And so those are some of the things that we're really excited about. And, we're happy to see sports continuing to take off.
I love that.
And you didn't mention the Steelers-Texans. That's next Monday. I'm just saying it. Steelers are going to win. But yeah,
I did love that.
happening.
I did love the Steelers-Baltimore game.
Yeah,
So that was incredible.
Yes, but I love everything you said in terms of just like I think about through the lens of my kids, which we always talk about here, on how they're creating through platforms and play their love for sports way before they're able to actually go to a game. And I think that we will see more and more of that as sports being not only a gateway to play, but also to your future community, whatever that thing is. Mine is being a Steeler fan. But anyway.
I haven't been to the floor either, but I keep hearing about the paper-thin TVs and screens, which sounds pretty exciting. For me, what I'm really excited about is the interest in Reddit and how I spend much of my time with brands and businesses who want to invest more and do more on the platform. And a lot of the questions they're asking around, there's this transition in search with the LLMs, all the fandoms and communities around the sports that we're talking about are so vibrant on Reddit. And so I just hear more and more just the interest in how do we engage with those communities? How do we be part of that? What is the right way to show up on Reddit, which is just an exciting conversation to have throughout the week.
Love it. I mean, we definitely are going to talk more about fandoms and how fandoms live and exist in all these places, whether it's online or in game. I was just thinking as Amy, you were talking about how earlier today we were saying younger generations don't care as much about getting a driver's license because they can do all the things that they want to do online. It feels like the same kind of idea of like, I don't necessarily need to go to a sporting game right away when I might be able to watch it on a streaming platform, or I might be able to go play and engage with my friends in that sport in a kind of unique way in gaming. So,
yeah. Gaming is more than playing with your controller. I still think we sat here last year and talked about this and it's about community and how you're choosing to connect, just like sports is about community. I think, where you are is incredible. I love the fact that so many athletes actually learn roots playing NFL Madden back in the day so that they were ready to either play college sports or to be in the NFL. And that was kind of a new concept at the time. Now, everyone's nodding at me because it's like, of course they would do that. But it was this incredible insight around the idea of moving from how you're training yourself to then be able to win on the field. And so I think there's an incredible amount of time and investment in that, where you're just kind of making yourself your best self versus just the concept of kind of old school gaming.
Yeah.
I like seeing how the conversation happens as a companion to the live game, whether you're at the game or you're watching the game. It's just the ongoing buzz and community dialogue and conversations that are happening while that's happening. Seeing communities light up, like the T-Swift community light up during the game that's happening. It's like the adjacent communities and all the conversation that happens is really cool to see people on the different screens doing that.
Yeah, I love that notion of just everything surrounding the game. And it's just amplifying and deepening the love of sport and the fandom itself. And so whether those conversations are happening on Reddit or they're deepening their engagement, learning the playbooks, learning more about the players in our games, it's just a way for fans to get just more intimate with the sport itself.
Yeah. And we're seeing those boundaries really starting to dissolve, right? Whether you're at the live event, whether you're doing something on a digital platform or gaming. How are you both at, EA in particular, let's start with, starting to enable fans to move more fluidly between those types of moments, whether it's the live event into game or vice versa?
Yeah. So one of the things we really focus on is how do we bring realism to the game? And in order to do that, you have to move very, very quickly. One of the examples that I like to give is, so last season, when Saquon Barkley did his reverse hurdle in game, it was such a big moment. Within a week, we were able to bring that move into our game for players to actually use that move. We actually did a panel with Alex Morgan, and which is coincidental because my name's Alex. Your name is.
There you
Morgan.
go.
We did a panel with Alex Morgan, the two-time World Cup champion, earlier this week. And she talked about her love for EA and the fact that we were able to bring her into the game. She became an icon in our biggest title, which is FC. Mm-hmm. And in there, she says she walks around and she has fans coming up to her and say, "Hey, like we play your player card in the game, and we celebrate using your tea sipping celebration that you did during the World Cup." And so there's all these big moments that happen in sports that we replicate back in our game. And then we do things like real-time data, stats, AI, in order to make sure that, it's as up-to-date as possible based off of how the season's going.
That's really cool. I didn't realize you all brought that into the game so fast. That's super cool.
Yeah, fans love it.
Yeah. Things we're focused on. So one is making it easy to just connect, just to find and be aware of the communities you might be interested in, those fandoms and those things that are happening on the platform. Often on Reddit, it's that is a challenge. We want to make it really easy just to get into those communities. It's one of the biggest barriers is people just not knowing that a community exists for something that they're interested in. So very focused on that for people. And then on the business side, we introduced a new ad format that is it's called a reminder ad format. And so we're seeing entertainment companies, sports companies be able to use that. So when people see, this live event's coming up, remind me, and that can bring them back in. Later, they get a notification to bring them back into those communities. So thinking about both the consumer experience and bringing them into the communities, as well as allowing businesses to really drive awareness and get people connected back as well.
Amazing. Well, Amy, my next question's for you. So today there's so many non-gaming activities that are happening in games. Concerts, sporting events, and non-gaming content is actually representing over 30% of the watch time. So how can brands think about adding value to some of these communities rather than just kind of advertising to them in these spaces?
I think first it's finding the non-gaming moments you should be in that your brand authentically makes sense to be in. I'll use your Swiftie mention here, where brands that lean in well, you're thinking of them with her in the community, because the community will reject if it doesn't feel like it's right. So I think that's the first thing, is figure out I would say sometimes for gaming, it's a little, especially sports, it's easier. I used to work on Gatorade. Like that, okay, that makes sense that we should be playing there. And then when you move into things that are much more community oriented, whether it's you're on Fortnite or you are on Twitch and you're watching your favorite DJ and you found that DJ from a creator, how do you then as a brand be really authentically connected to that so it makes sense that you can play there? That's where I say you start with like your growth audiences and what they're spending time on, and then how the community is reacting to that, and have a point of view. Otherwise, and I think beauty brands do this really well in terms of having a point of view in the more virtual spaces that are not gaming oriented, so that it makes sense that you would be a brand that might show up in something like that. And then I think this is where Reddit is a big insights engine. We're a fantastic partner of yours in this regard, where we'll look and say, what are people talking about? Mm-hmm. Okay, this makes sense. We can recommend to a brand, okay, you should be investing in this type of non-gaming event, because we're seeing it. We're seeing the community talk about this, and it feels like this could be a brand story too.
Yeah.
That then makes sense for us to then go back to a brand and say, we feel like this is a place you should consider, playing in. And it's not an ad buy. It's probably connecting with the creators that are already engaged in that experience.
A great recent example, it's a different category, not sports gaming, but there's a subreddit community called Kitchen Confidential, which is behind the scenes for chefs and behind the scenes for cooking. And someone posted his name, it's Chive Lord was the user that they're going
That's a great name.
They posted their perfectly symmetrical cut chives on in the subreddit and said, I'm going to keep cutting these every day until Reddit says they're perfect. And so this went on for day after day after day. And then people spotted and said, actually, this picture looks like you reused a previous picture. And so it became Chivegate, and there was big drama about that. But this really kind of popped and played out on the platform. It inspired a new subreddit community called Quest for Perfection, where people are doing all kinds of things like that. I'm going to keep drawing the Daft Punk album cover until Reddit says it's perfect. But what's interesting is Kraft saw it, and they quickly launched a ad campaign on Reddit and said, some heroes chop chives every day until Reddit says they're perfect. We put chives into our cream cheese. And
Smart.
they just jumped on it really fast. They grabbed that insight and what was happening in a community, launched it. And it not only did really well with the advertising, but it prompted all of this organic conversation inside the community, which then gets picked up by LLMs and everywhere else. So picking up on your point, grabbing those insights, reacting fast. I always say you want to think about, like, if you're going to a party, you would not, it's like going to a community, you would not just start shouting when you get into the party. You'd feel out the vibe, you would talk to people and kind of work your way in. And so that's the same concept when a business goes into a community, making sure that you're feeling that out, you're bringing value, being helpful for that community is what I advise.
It's a great example of a really smart way for brands to join in on community chatter without feeling disruptive to the experience or feeling like they're out of place or inauthentic.
Right.
Along the same lines, Alex, how are you guys listening to the community? How are you taking the conversation, whether it's for new games or new partnerships, and applying that to the games that you're making?
Yeah, I think both of the points you made are really important. And the importance of just listening to the community and seeing what they're naturally doing and getting excited about. It's just some of the ways we do that is we try to understand exactly the gameplay and the things that gets them excited, whether it be overcoming challenges, different tournaments, unlocking new players, packs, skills. We use that into the gameplay itself and the way that we partner with brands. There's a couple examples I can think of. One of them is the community was talking about how, they want to be able to see brands that they see in the real world back into our games. And so what we did was we actually brought Allstate in, and Allstate became the field goal net that you would see in college football stadiums. And then afterwards, we were actually taking a look at like different communities and what they were saying around that activation. And on Reddit, we saw a bunch of posts around, hey, they brought in Allstate on the field goal net. Like, this looks way more real. It feels like the actual college environment. And so that was a cool example of listening to the community. We took that a step further, and then actually with Lowe's, they became a big partner of ours across EA Sports. So across FC, Madden, college football, we activated them across so many different placements in our game. We created Lowe's players that were played over 1 million times. We brought them into our Stadium Pulse in college football. And so that's the broadcast placement where the audience just gets super loud, and then it's sponsored by Lowe's. They then took that and, started making memes out of it. It became a whole thing on socials. but they extended what they did with us in game to actually in the real world. And so they actually went around different stadiums, different Lowe's locations. They created a trailer with Madden and Saquon Barkley and just, created more of a fan experience for Lowe's members. And so it was a really cool activation where, we were able to activate 360 together.
A great connection to what you were saying earlier, Alex, is around people really want behind the scenes content. So whether it's sports or gaming or whatever is going on, doing the AMAs, not seeing just the glossy, polished photos or videos or how it kind of used to be. They want to get that unvarnished inside look. Redditors are really into that. I think just people in general, that's what engages them. And so there's a lot of crossover between EA and what you all are doing, exposing some of that behind the scenes, and what Redditors are looking for inside these AMAs and the communities.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'll add too that part of it is the brands knowing what they want to be the answer for. So your examples for both Lowe's and Allstate are great ones in terms of I can listen to you speak about them and understand, how Lowe's is thinking about home improvement, the role in my life. And so these are like play. That makes sense to me. Similar for Allstate, safety net makes sense, right? These are things that as I think about, you think about the LLMs, which is where you guys play hard in terms of I want to be found as a brand for this and be the answer for it, and also show up more authentically and also beating the algorithms here in terms of how I show up. So there's a delicate dance between the two, which is the community. And then, of course, as a brand, we work with so many partners, and when they're saying things like, we just want to do community-based work. Okay. So what do you stand for? And I don't mean purpose. It's like, what do you want to be the answer for? How are you delivering value?
Exactly.
Then you get into actually, we're not really sure what that is. So that's the thing you have to solve to play well in Reddit and to also play well in your world. Otherwise, it just feels like I bought the net space or whatever it is. Yeah. And so I think just listening to you guys talk about it, there's a very interesting, the insights role, then the actual application within the things that you can leverage within your environment. But if you're not clear on that as a brand, it's not going to do what you want it to do because the community will reject it.
There's a shift to that generally. There's an erosion of trust and credibility. With influencers, creators, just the algorithmic feed and what you're seeing there, and people really craving that trust and that human experience. You can't, an algorithm can't test drive a car. You want to hear about someone who actually had that experience and is talking about it. And so as a brand showing up, if you could think about, which is the whole, how Reddit is set up, it's about upvotes, downvotes. It's what value do you bring to the community? And everyone starts at zero. On other platforms, you build up a bunch of followers and then you get higher in the feed no matter what you're posting. Reddit, no matter who you are, you start at zero and people are going to upvote or downvote that. And so if you show up as a business and think about, okay, I want to get credibility and trust, what is the value I can bring to people and to this community is how you accomplish that.
Trust. I think trust is a big word this year. We were just going through, we had a client session earlier, and Brian Cooley, who we love, was going through big themes. And one of the big themes we took is that there is this art of listening that's happening with all the devices. And that is, what do you do with that when you have devices that are listening in and then you're trying to understand? It should help you to become a trusted brand. And what is trust and how do you know it's real? So I think that's a very interesting thing for all of us this year as marketers and as partners on how do you help brands win in a space that they can win and also really deliver value. Consumers don't need anything else. They need time back.
Yeah.
I like the idea of listening because if I unpack it one step further, to listen is to understand. And when I heard both of these examples, I think they're really powerful examples of not a brand coming into a space because they just want to be there, but a brand coming into a space because they understood the community in the game wanted them there. They understood their place in the game, how to do it in a way that felt connected to what people felt for their brand. Same thing with the Kraft example, right? They understood the context of the conversation and why people were talking about it and the role that they could play without feeling like it was an overstep. And so I think that's really interesting and almost like good advice for brands today is like listen more. And it's a great way, especially in these non-traditional environments, to show up in a way that isn't going to feel icky.
And there's value, as well said, there's value coming back also. Reddit is the greatest focus group that's ever existed. So if you're listening, that's going to help you bring value to the community. It's also going to allow you as a business to know what people are saying about your product, the good and the bad, be able to improve those products, like really get those insights to improve what you're doing.
So, Jim, let's pivot to the future of Reddit. Where do you see the biggest opportunities for brands to co-create with fans and communities on Reddit looking ahead?
Well, it builds on a lot of what we've talked about. It's finding what are those relevant communities for what you do. It's thinking about what is the value you can bring to those communities. We talked about behind the scenes. People really want to know the mechanics of how things work and what's going on when you pull the curtain back. And that's applicable to anything, sports, gaming, you run a brewery, like whatever that is, people want to get that inside track. And so as you move forward, really using the insights which we offer for free, you can jump on in Reddit, get a Reddit Pro account, and immediately start to see what are the subreddits that are relevant for me? What are people saying about my brand? What are they saying about my competitors? And really tap into that and use that to inform how you're going to engage with the right communities within the product.
This might be a little bit of a pivot, but in your recent article in Fast Company, you talked about how creators were the new storefront in gaming. I was wondering if you could maybe help break down a little bit about what that means and how brands should show up.
Absolutely. The concept came from, we talk a lot about beauty creators and their storefronts, and we don't really think about gaming creators and how they are not only perhaps creating a game, they're also creating merchandise and all other things that they should be monetizing. And so what does that storefront look like? Because you have someone in an immersive environment and now they might like a pair of shoes on a game or something. And if I'm a gaming creator, we've sort of disconnected this idea. And that was really what it was about, is they're creators. Mm-hmm. And all creators are creating a new thing, whether it's a new environment, a new point of view. They're feeding into communities on Reddit, so they're authentically there. But they're also have a vision on what they think should be the things that you have in your home experience, for example. And so that was the thinking on that.
Got it.
And I don't think that's something we talk enough about. We talk about it a ton in the beauty space, and we think about creators we see in, Get It Ready With Me, those types of creators, and how then they create storefronts of their favorites. But we don't really talk about it of those that are creating games and then what that looks like.
I love that point because, when you think about the gamer, they're not there to just play. They're there to create. They're there to connect. And that's part of EA's mission statement, right? We inspire the world to play, connect, and create. From a creation perspective, like using a college football example, we let the player actually develop their own player. They can earn trust from their coaches. They can have certain academics, learn new skills, develop themselves, go through different tournaments and challenges. And then we're able to bring a brand in to give them an NIL sponsorship deal, right? And so that's really to the point of value creation. Those are the things that really matter to the player. It's not only just showing up consistently, but it's showing up consistently with value that gets them excited and that helps them unlock and feel proud about the adventure that they're going through the gaming space.
All right. Well, let's fast forward. We're in 2030. Is everyone with me? Did you make the journey?
2030. Okay, it's been a long 2025,
right?
All right.
Okay, I guess it's not that far. What are some
Digitas will be 50 in 2030.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, born in 1980.
Wow, look at us.
Reddit just turned 20
Hey,
last year.
We're going to do
Congratulations. Birthdays all around.
Yeah.
So in 2030, what are some of the headlines at CES that you hope to see around the future of gaming or the future of online communities? What would just really wow you?
For me, I would hope that marketers would no longer look at gaming as a niche, elusive community.
Me too.
And then just realize, hey, there are 3 billion gamers in the world. It's a massive audience. If you take a look at studies for time spent predicted in the future, Gen Z, millennials are predicted to spend the most time gaming, watching sports, and on socials. And gaming is really starting to intersect across all three, especially with EA, our sports titles. A couple of years ago, we launched our EA Connect product, and now there's 148 million people who've developed connections through that. But marketers when they're looking at gaming, also understanding it's not just passive lean back impressions. Like it's a very highly engaged community that's leaned in. They're excited about the adventures. Within college football, every single day is the equivalent of 23,000 NFL seasons that are played. Every single month, there's over 1 billion matches that are played in FC. And so it's a deeply engaged community with a massive audience. And I'm excited for marketers to continue to get into there and build value for our community.
Headline that I'd like to see is gamers from around the world flock to the communities on Reddit. We have so much headroom outside of the US from a growth perspective. And one of the barriers is just exposing or letting people know that these incredible communities exist around areas that they're already passionate about and really excited about. That's one I'd love to see. I'd also love to see businesses just engaging directly with those communities and bringing value to those communities. 58% of Redditors say that they trust a business more if they see it interact or answer a question directly on the platform. So people want to hear from businesses. They don't want to be just sold to. They want to actually have businesses as part of the community, bringing value, pulling back the curtain, sharing interesting things for people on the platform.
Love that.
But like both of your headlines, I would steal them. I love the idea of it not being gaming, but it's just a massive play date that is seamless, that brings all different parties together and also democratizes things. Like I loved all the stats you just said, because I feel like if you're, and we talked a little about this last year around the mall, and the mall was the place you would go to connect, to see things, to experience, to meet small businesses, all these things. Now you can do that through communities and through gaming. And it's more than just playing games. And I think there's something really interesting around the continuation of having people connect across, finding value from that experience, and also being less lonely. And like, so what's amazing about gaming is like, my 12-year-old, this is his play date. I said it here last year, I'll say it again. And he like values those 2 hours on Saturday. And it is a fun, competitive sport to listen to him with his friends. And they're from all over the US. They're not just the kids down the street. And so I think there's something around that makes us feel more connected as humans and allows us to have more empathy for things that are not happening within our own small community. This is what also makes Reddit amazing. It brings community across, not just community in your small town. And we all need to have empathy for other people's point of view.
We talked about AI earlier. I think about the Reddit is both powering the LLMs, but it's also the antidote because it's the most human place on the internet. And so that's just going to become more and more important and more scarce as you think about trust, credibility, engaging with other people. That just will be really important as we move forward.
I love the human element and the democratization of access, because that's what both of our platforms are able to do, right? We democratize access to the sport and allow people to be able to more deeply engage across the communities and across our games.
Well, I would sign up for a 2030 with any of those headlines. So we'll have to reunite in a few years and see if they came true. That is all the time we have for today, but thank you all so much. There was such rich conversation, and for a playful topic, I feel like we hit some pretty serious things about like the future of humanity and trust, and it was amazing. So thank you all so much for joining us. We will be back here again next year. Hope to see you back again soon. We are signing out from CES. Thank you.